My father-in-law went on a business trip. Actually, it was a frequent event, but this time I remembered for a long time. But let's talk about everything in order. I was lucky to have relatives on my wife's side. They were, to put it mildly, not poor people. I was lucky in the fact that my wife was undemanding to my purse, and in the fact that thanks to my father-in-law, I was able to get a rather prestigious and highly paid job. You will probably ask what in me could find a girl from a rich family, practically not knowing the problems with finances. I myself do not know. Maybe I'm not a bad person, and good-looking, without false modesty. In my past life, I worked in a fitness club as a master trainer, where, in fact, I met my future wife. For a long time I trained her first in the gym, and then the training became even more dense and intense, so we began to skip classes together and keep fit in bed. But my story is not about my wife or even my father-in-law, but about my mother-in-law. Apparently, when she was young, she was just like my wife, a beautiful, simple girl. Only she was not born into a rich family and successfully married a successful gangster, who very quickly came to his senses, legalized his business, at the expense of which, and survived in the harsh 90s. The father-in-law has changed since then, but the mother-in-law has not. She still remained that 20-year-old silly girl who in an instant became rich. Only now she was already the fifth decade, and she still has not wised up, has not learned how to properly manage money, but remained the same spectacular beauty. She knew how to take care of herself, of course. But it is not surprising. In beauty salons, tanning salons, and other scary-for-men institutions, she spent most of the day. And the rest of the time she socialized with the same pathos friends and tried to grease her husband to give her more money for her entertainment. Apparently the father-in-law was satisfied with this way of life. At home, he was always waiting for a satisfied wife, with a contrived smile on her face, who only needed to be fed with money. Daughter, he successfully dumped his daughter to a low-demanding guy, that is, me. And he himself enjoyed the way of life and style of his life. The only thing he sometimes asked me to do was to keep an eye on his wife in his absence, so that she would not do anything wrong. There were just precedents for her throwing a party at their cottage where her dim-witted friends trashed half the house. Or the woman could do any number of other stupid things that were easier for me, as a relative, to deal with than her driver and security guard. Sarah and I were on good terms. Both of us understood perfectly well why we ended up in one rich family, but never once gave the appearance that we were not satisfied with any feature of the characters of our halves. This state of affairs suited us both. And so, once again, my father-in-law, while he was out of town, asked me to check on her. "How is my wife? Has not done something in her own style?" he said. Each time my excuses for visiting my mother-in-law sounded more and more ridiculous. But whether the woman was not interested in them, or whether she believed any wildness that I made up on the fly, in any case, there was no problem with these explanations. And now, when I nodded to the guard and entered her house, I said, "William said there's something wrong with your pipes in the basement. Here, he asked me to take a look." I blurted out, not believing my own words. "Hey, Dylan, yeah, sure, come on in. I'm bored here by myself anyway. So why don't you go somewhere and have some fun? I'm kind of bored with everything. I got these assholes following me around." The woman nodded in the direction of the door, behind which her driver and the guard remained on duty. "This is the only place where I can relax, do what I want, and I always feel like there are hidden cameras everywhere. Anything is possible." I smirked and did not try to dissuade my mother-in-law. "Do you want to eat?" "I wouldn't mind." I agreed. I had never met a bad meal in this house before. We talked for a long time on distracted topics, after which I still had to pretend that I was very interested in the pipes in the basement. I got up from the table and headed down the stairs. The basement in this fancy house had 2 levels. On the first were the entertainment rooms, a billiard room, a table for poker and other gambling games, and even a mini cinema. The boiler room itself and other sewage stuff was even lower down. But they too were kept completely clean and in perfect condition. I went in there and looked at my phone and grumbled. There was no signal here, which meant I had to be bored here for about 10 minutes without internet. I had to at least pretend to check something out. But after 5 minutes, I couldn't stand it any longer and went higher. The sight of the gorgeous pool table mesmerized me. I wanted to stroke its velvet cloth and even better to arrange the balls and play a game. But my dreams were interrupted by my mother-in-law, who suddenly came down from her choirs to the basement. Something about her had changed, but I didn't immediately realize what it was. It turned out that she had changed her dress to an even shorter robe, from under which her beautiful tanned legs peeked out. In addition, the woman had let her hair down and now looked rather ambiguous. Is she trying to seduce me? I thought, but I didn't let on. What, Dylan? Are the pipes in the pool room now? I already checked them out. Now, Dylan, now. Do you think I'm so dumb that I don't know why you come here? She smiled. I don't think anything. From the unexpected pressure of my mother-in-law, I was confused. So I understand perfectly well that my favorite hubby thinks that 2 hired men are not enough to control me and has long since contracted. And you for this role. But I don't hold it against you. I'd do the same thing if I were you. If you know everything, Sarah, can you guess that there are probably hidden cameras here too? I was trying to be cool. There are. They're definitely here. And they don't record sound, Dylan, don't worry. So we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. Just don't make any unnecessary moves so they don't suspect us of anything. What are you talking about? You'll find out. Let's go downstairs. There's definitely no extra ears or eyes. You don't think it'll look suspicious on the cameras? You're here to check the pipes, aren't you? Go ahead and show me the pipes. The woman had really studied the inside of her house. Now I was sure that she would try to draw me into some financial adventure or ask me to excuse her in front of her husband because of some next joint. But what happened next, I couldn't even imagine. As soon as we went downstairs, my mother-in-law turned around and looked me straight in the eyes. Her gaze was very different from upstairs. There was a mischievous sparkle in it. Sarah, what's the matter with you? Now let's talk honestly and frankly. Well, like I had a choice. You know what a rich and mature woman lacks? I'm guessing. That's right, a young and handsome lover. At these words, my mother-in-law ran her manicured finger across my chest. And you are not afraid of being exposed by your jealous husband? I was still trying to look as nonchalant as possible, but it was getting worse. Of course I wouldn't want that. So I can't go out and have fun. I'd be ratted out. And since you're here now and at my husband's personal request, why not take advantage of me or the situation? Call it whatever you want. With these words, the woman untied the belt of her robe, and it came apart. I immediately saw that under it my mother-in-law was completely naked because her tanned skin attracted my gaze downward. And if I don't want to? If I refuse? For some reason, I stammered. I had wanted this gorgeous, mature beauty for a long time, and sooner or later I would pounce on her myself. You have no choice, the woman said confidently, and threw her robe down to her feet. Then she started pulling off my shirt and jeans, always saying, "Come on, hurry up, we don't have much time." But we could not complete this process soon. I decided to get the maximum benefit and pleasure from this situation. My mother-in-law was not lagging behind me either, turning into an insatiable tigress in an instant. When we climbed out of the basement, we hardly remembered that we had to get dressed and tidy up. "So when next time you come to check the pipes?" the woman asked me nonchalantly. "Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.